Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fitness and Family Podcast. I am so excited for my next guest because one, she is my first international guest, and this is just a huge honor for my podcast. So, I'm going to give a brief introduction for you. Kelly Beveridge is 47 years old and lives in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, with her partner of 10 plus years and their adorable dog. She has a degree in international business and has been an entrepreneur for the last 15 years. Kelly has traveled the world from Canada, her hometown, to South Africa and South America, where she has coached and mentored thousands. Her company is called Entrepreneurial, oh gosh, there's that word, Entrepreneurial, oh boy, Elevation. And we are going to dive into the social pillar of health, talking about behavior styles, how to communicate with other people, how to make decisions in your early adult years, and more. So, welcome, Kelly. Thank you so much again for being on my podcast.
Amazing. Thank you for having me here. And yes, I chose the hardest name for my business to say and spell.
But I love it because I will always remember it's the word I can't say. So, in a way, it does work. Entrepreneurial. There we go. Abby.
Nailed
Okay,
it.
you'll always remember as me as the one who like stutters. All right. So I know I gave a brief introduction to everybody, but why don't you just go a little bit deeper into just a little bit about you? You can kind of backtrack how you got into your business and then any hobbies that you guys like to do with your dog or with your partner.
For sure. I love it. So my background, I did take international business at school, yet it's funny, I didn't know I would have an international business. I took that because I loved traveling, right? And, back then I'm a little bit older, so my parents are like, you got to go to school. And I'm like, what in the heck am I going to take? And so I put myself through school serving. And when I finished, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was never that person that was like, this is it, this is my path. And so I ended up working in restaurants for about 10 years. I worked my way up to management. I grew up playing team sports and was always one of the leaders. So I just had this natural ability to lead and manage. And because I love people and I love the aspect of team, those are just some of the things I knew about myself at a younger stage in life. Yet eventually working in restaurants got pretty old just because of the environment. And I was searching for what was going to be the next chapter of my life. And I ended up taking a personal development course for myself. And at that time, I didn't even know what personal growth meant or investing in yourself to learn about you. And I fell in love with the idea of learning about myself and what made me tick. And I ended up investing about $40,000 at the time in my personal development, which was quite a bit and a big investment.
Mhm.
And then I ended up working for the company. So my background, I say, is personal
Ooh.
development and leadership development. I worked with the company for many years. I volunteered with them. We put on events and programs for people to really uncover their beliefs and limiting beliefs so that they can get clear on who they are and what they want. And through that process, I ended up meeting a lot of entrepreneurs because entrepreneurship really goes hand in hand with personal growth. And I ended up starting a business through that, which took me, it was a direct selling business where I built teams, took me all around the world, like you shared, into Vietnam, into Chile. I lived there for a while,
Wow.
all through North America. I lived in South Africa back and forth for 6 years, working with people. And so I feel like I don't have a degree in psychology or human interaction or connection or anything like that, but I have experience. And so I feel like I got
Mhm.
a handle on what drives people. And a couple years ago, just last part of my story, I really became burnt out and exhausted, and really was, a workaholic, to be quite honest. I didn't know how to turn off. And so I actually stepped back from my business and left and decided I was going to start something new and learn how to build a business from alignment where I got to slow down to speed up versus being in the hustle culture of things. And that's where Entrepreneurial Elevation was born. And now I run masterminds for ambitious women entrepreneurs who want to grow and scale their business, yet from a place of joy and fulfillment and not having to add extra hours to the day. And I have a podcast of my own called Entrepreneurial Elevation. And I'm just doing what I love and it's creating more abundance. And so that's where I am today.
Oh, that's great. And I love it how you said your business is based on helping women build with joy and fulfillment, not that hustle, hustle. Because what was it like a few years ago? I feel like it was still pre-COVID when everybody would be like, what was it like the reels and everything was hustle, the hustle nature. And you you're like, well, I'm not doing well unless I'm hustling. And I kind of felt like I went into that when I was teaching my fitness classes because I was just doing it for fun. I'm like, if I make enough money to pay for my car, I'm fine with that. But then I would be watching all these videos and I'm like, well, no, I need to make more money. I'm paying for my car, but no, I'm not good enough because I still need to make this. I still need to, I'm not doing enough. So I'm like, well, I'm doing fitness. Let me get into the athleisure part of selling, which I loved. And it did teach me stuff for a few years, but I'm like, well, I need to do this now. I need to do this now. And then, yeah, the burnout happened. That company kind of fell through. And then now I'm back with the fitness. And I'm like, no, I'm doing fine. And I really, truly just enjoy teaching.
Yeah,
So what's wrong with, and that's how I think I got into this podcast part, which is, it's just a different way of teaching, a different
absolutely.
mindset. I'm not teaching classes. I'm teaching about health. I'm teaching about what I know, and I'm bringing experts like you on in different fields I'm not aware of, but I'm still teaching, but I'm not hustling. I'm doing it at the pace I want to do it at.
Yeah,
So I
I
love that that's what your ambition is, to teach people, and the ability that you have to do it all over the world, which using your international business degree, which
yeah,
I did
exactly.
take, I took a class in that actually in college because I had a minor in agribusiness, agricultural business. And one of the classes was international business. And I took that and I'm like, that was very interesting. It was just an intro, but I'm like, that is a very interesting just intro class right there, just to learn all about that with different countries. So the fact that you still use that degree in a different kind of way than what college told you you were going to use it. So that's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. So I visited your website, which is absolutely amazing. I was drawn into it for so many different reasons and kind of just based on the direction I'm going with our podcast. And I just had to pick something, or we'll be talking for hours. I want to get into behavior styles because I know a lot of people that listen on the podcast were of different age groups, mostly women, but different age groups, and our behaviors change, as we age. And let's kind of discuss, why do people behave the way they do? And with that behavior, how can we show up as our best self?
I love that. First of all, thanks for going to my website. It just goes to show you don't have to be great at everything to have a business because that kind of thing is not my skill set. And
Mm.
so the fact that you said you enjoyed it makes me feel good. So thanks.
Oh, good. Yes.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
that. So yeah, behavior styles, there's so many things I can share about this. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about this later, but I want to bring it up here as well, because when I think of behavior styles and just why people behave the certain way that they do now, right? Like, by the way, I am actually 48 now. I wasn't going to say anything, but I liked being called 47.
Well, you
But
look fantastic.
thanks. So, being 48 and whatever the listeners, whoever's listening to this right now, whatever age you are up until now, right? We have life experience and we tend to, throughout our years, adapt a limiting belief system around certain things, right? We're all successful in our own right. We all have a success mindset in some ways, yet we all also have the opposite limitations and limiting beliefs in some ways. And there's a study that was done through Stanford. And I think this is really important to share just to kind of give the listeners an idea of how do our beliefs form. And this study shared that from kids between the ages of 0 to 4, right, based on who we're around, our environment, what we're taught, things that are said to us, all of those factors. Okay, 50% of who we are and how we make decisions today, myself as a 48-year-old, has been hardwired into place by the time I'm 50, or sorry, by the time I'm 4 years old. 50%.
Wow.
From 4 to 8, based on, once again, the friends we're with, the teachers,
Hmm.
all of those things. Like most people have an experience in their life or a memory where they're like, I remember this teacher said this to me and it scarred me, or my parent told me this. I didn't grow up with this parent, or I got bullied at school, or, so now we're starting to be around a different environment. And so by the time we're 8, another 30% of how today we make decisions, the behaviors we have, who we are, has been hardwired into place. And then from 8 to 18, another 15%. So by the time we're 18, 95% of how we live our life, I like to say, has been on autopilot. Now, I did not come up with this stat. This is a very famous study that was done through Stanford. And so if you think about it, if you're living your life on autopilot, I always kind of like to say, like, have you ever hopped in your car if you drive and you've driven somewhere where you go often and you arrive and you're like, I don't
How
remember
did I
driving.
get here?
Yeah, how did I get here? Right? Like, who
Yes.
was driving the car the last
It's
five
kind of
minutes? Am I
scary
running?
in a way too. Yeah.
It's
But
scary
yes.
because we're just driving so much on autopilot. So
Hmm.
just like that example, we make decisions in our life, we behave a certain way, we react a certain way, we show up with our thinking a certain way and our actions and our activity, therefore our results, right? Based on this autopilot, 95% of how we live our life until we're 18. And so that's a lot of the ways that behaviors start to get formed. And so our environment has a big piece to do with it. And, I always like to say awareness before change. And so a lot of times people will go through their entire life operating in the same way, thinking in the same way, behaving in the same way, having these same habits, getting these same results, and wondering why things aren't different. And so, in order for that to change, there has to be awareness and then the choice to choose something different,
Hmm.
right? And
Yep.
so, the second part of your question was what was the
Mhm.
second part of your question
Oops.
again?
Yes. So we talked about oh yeah. With that behavior, how can we show up as our best self?
Yeah. And so to start to show up as our best self, one, it's awareness, awareness before change. I like to say ABC, and
Yep.
then having a desire for things to be different. Unfortunately, a lot of times people don't choose change until it gets really bad and painful. In theory, it would be great if
Mhm.
people were driven towards desire and goals and all of that,
Mhm.
which does work. But a lot of times people don't start to choose that until something happens. So I love to share
Mm.
teach with people that, for things to start to be different, number one, we have to desire it. Number two, we have to choose it. And then what you can start to do to show up as your best self, my belief, and this is what I did. I mean, I went through this, right? Is I realized my life, I wasn't living it in alignment. And you talked a little bit about it with yourself too, how you started to go down this lane of hustle. And a
Mhm.
lot of times we by accident start to live our life based on other people's values and fill our time and our schedule and everything based on what other
Mhm.
people want for us, parents, society, what we think we should be doing, right? And we
Mhm.
start to behave in a way that isn't in alignment with ourselves and what we really want deep down. So I say, number one, it's super important to get clear on your values. So, what are your values? Where do you actually want to spend your time, effort, energy, money,
Mhm.
thoughts? All of that stuff is really important to know. What do you want to see shift and be different in your life? Like right now, my highest value is my health, and then it's wealth creation, and then it's my relationship. It's not always in that order, but right now, that's where I'd like to see the
Mhm.
biggest shift. Right. And so, because I'm clear on what my values are, now my behaviors can start to change because guess what? I've got to start to design my life differently. If I look in my calendar and my schedule and I don't have those three values, showing back to me, mirrored back to me, it means that I'm not going to have change. So I look at my schedule and how I be proactive. I make sure that I say no to things that don't align with those values and I make
Mhm.
sure that I treat those values as rocks, right? I start to plan my days differently. I start to show up with the way that I think about it. I'm now setting goals in those areas. I look at what my daily habits are towards those values, right? I start to
Yep.
make time for those things. And so behavior changes once you decide, get clear on what you want, and start to put a plan in place. And then you've got to do the hard work, which is follow through and keep your word to yourself around the
Yep.
things, make it happen. So most of the time, I think it's about just getting back to the roots of what do you want? Like truly,
Yeah.
what do you want? Because behavior won't change if there isn't a need for it or a desire for it.
That is, my brain went so many different directions with this because immediately when you start talking, I obviously, like, I'm pretty sure I'm obviously probably a lot of people do this with you. They start putting themselves in situations they've been in and they think through what you're saying. And
Yeah.
that's immediately what I started doing. And I came to like two different things, one with my son, where we, the 0 to 4 age, learning these behaviors. And with him, we're a competitive family. He started soccer, I would say 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
He's in six years and under. You're not supposed to keep score, but we're keeping score. He's undefeated. He has scored goals. But the problem is now is that he's so used to that that when he almost in a sense needs to not score a goal in a game or their team just needs to lose. He needs to understand what it means to get defeated because I want to see him to learn a proper reaction and
Yeah.
not just a screaming measure because I'm afraid that's what's going to come because with our family we always have the saying if you're not first you're last. That did not come from me, that's my husband. But if you're not first you're last, and unfortunately that's not always the right mentality that you want to have because failure is learning.
Yeah.
So that's something that like came to mind, and I'm sure for a lot of other parents out there, that is when you have a competitive family, that's how it goes. And then yeah, what you were saying is what is it? Behavior, was it not being aligned with yourself? Where do you want to spend? I know I was like kind of scribbling, so I always take notes and I review them later. But where do you want to spend your value, your time, and things like that? And that's one a decision I had to make because everybody always asks me, how do you balance working? How do you balance teaching classes? Um, Being a mom, renovating the house. And I said, well, one, I meticulously, there's the OCD having my time. My Google Calendar is my best friend. But at the same time, I cut off all my fitness classes at 5 p.m. And that meant this semester at our local university, I cut a class off. I said,
Mm.
I want to be home now that my son's full time kindergarten. I want to make sure that I am home with him. He has my undivided attention. There's no teaching classes or anything like that. And if I have to sub, I'll sub. But my thinking is now family is now going above my fitness
Yeah.
because that's how important he is. So that's true. When things come up or when things change, different decades of your life, even year to year, where are you putting your values? So I really do like that. And I like how you just spelled it all out. In those ages, I would have never guessed. I mean, you always hear about that. You learn so much when you're so young, but I would have never known that it was that much. But when you think about it, you think back in time, yeah, I remember certain things from my third grade teacher when I was 8. I remember one instance from kindergarten. So yeah, you those little one sentences from teachers can definitely influence you.
We absolutely do, and it's like it's why it's not easy as we get older. It's kind of like how that saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? It's like, well, you can. They have to be
Yeah.
willing. Yet it's
Yes.
not as easy because we're unwinding years of belief, and I always say like
Mhm.
it's not just about behavior because the thing is if we behave a certain way and think a certain way for so long, it becomes our beliefs and it becomes our identity. And
Mhm.
how beliefs are be created is by what we tell ourselves over and over and over again. And it becomes what we believe so much to be true. And so if
Mhm.
we're going to create different results or we want different outcomes in our lives, it's going to require a different version of us. And one of your questions was how do we show up as our best self? It's being
Mhm.
willing to change. It's being willing to change our beliefs. Now that is not easy for people, right?
No,
Yet, and I'm not saying all
it's
of them, I'm just saying the limiting ones, the ones that don't serve us, the ones that are keeping us stuck. We all have narratives about ourselves that do not serve us. And the dialogue that I like to tell people, do you talk to yourself? And everybody kind of laughs because we all do. We all talk to ourselves all day
do.
long. But
Hmm.
what are you saying to yourself on a regular basis? And is it going to allow you to have abundance in your life and create success in your
Yeah.
life? Be happy and fulfilled, or is it the main thing that's keeping you stuck? So if you want to change your patterns and change your beliefs, you've got to change your thinking, which means you've
Yeah.
got to change your beliefs and be willing to do that. But it's so possible if you just, once again, awareness before change. What are you saying to yourself that isn't working?
Yeah. Yep. Immediately what came to mind is when people talk about like they'll do the sticky notes on their mirror when they wake up in the morning and like those positive affirmations telling themselves because sometimes you'll go down that roller coaster and it's going down and how you're going to get yourself up. You got to believe that what you want to do and what you're willing to do is going to happen, but it's constantly getting yourself out of that cycle.
100%. And it sounds cliche, a lot of the things that they say, well, what should I do? They do work though, right? The
Yep.
affirmation, the
Mhm.
journaling, what we say to ourselves. I have a little sticky note on my mirror, the Mel Robbins thing, give yourself a high five, tell yourself you love you. those all those little things do matter. What we say out loud matters. Words are very, very powerful, and I just also think being willing to invest in yourself and a big piece of change, how to change your behavior, in all honesty, is really to take a look at your environment as well. Who you spend your time with,
Mhm.
who you choose to listen to, right? Who you hang out with. Like you teach fitness and health. Like if you're somebody
Mhm.
who wants to be healthy, who are you hanging around on a Friday night? The people that say, "Do you want
Right.
to go for a walk?" Or the ones who say, "Let's go grab a drink," right? And grab food at the pub. Like you get to
Mhm.
decide who you choose to once again give your time. And I'm not saying that the second one is bad, but once again, if
Oh,
you're
right.
health, you need to
Mhm.
upgrade the people you hang out with who live healthy lifestyles, right?
Yep.
And so that's just the health is such an easy one to give an example around, but environment is so important. So do you have people who support you in leveling up, who are about personal development? Like I'm an entrepreneur. I want to hang around successful, philanthropic,
Mhm.
heart-led leaders, entrepreneurs who care about their health and wellness, who want to give back to people. So I go and source those people out, right? I go and put myself in those arenas. And that's another thing that isn't easy for people to do is to not just stay stuck in the environment you're used to, because that's
Mhm.
easy. But once again, if you want to change your behavior, like your environment is a massive piece of it.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it with that. I'm sure we can we can go on and on about environments, its whole topic too, for
That could be a
sure.
whole
Well,
podcast.
right, right. But I want to group these, I want to group the next topic together with behavior, which is communication styles, which is huge in itself, especially when a lot of people get into the workforce or just meet somebody new. And it's just learning to communicate. So again, as you're younger, we develop these communication styles as we get older, and that's through the different situations we experienced. So how does our communication styles change? And let's kind of explain how our social behavior is impacted by it.
Yeah, it's such a good question. There's so many different kind of like ways to go about sharing that when it comes to personality tests or behavior styles or communication styles. Yet I think what I want to share on this is there's something, and this is just coming to my mind to share, so I'm just going to share it. Yet
Yes.
I feel that we live our life from two perspectives. One is fear and one is love. And when we're in fear, that's more their survival mode, right? And fear pops up when we feel under pressure for whatever reason. And when we're in fear, we show up in three ways. Okay, so there's three ways. I kind of like to think of fear as like a triangle. Okay, and so fear, when you're in fear, and it's a choice, comes from either being a victim, right? So poor me, woe is me, why is this happening to me, right? Never taking fault or ownership, that kind of thing, right? The other one is we rescue people. So this is parents are really good at this, right? Rescuing their kids,
Right.
right? All of those things, or we try to even in business, right? Or when you're in the workforce, like you brought up, like we'll take on people's work for them, or we'll
Mhm.
overcompensate, or but we have this nature to rescue and not hold people capable. And then the third one is persecution. So people who do the blame game, right? Point the finger out, those kinds of things. So that's one way. And I'll link this back to communication in a second. So we're either coming from fear or we're coming from love. That's it. And it's a choice once again. So when we're coming from love, love means I create and choose the source and the wholeness of my reality. So I'm responsible, right? And it's from playing what I like to call the game of three rules. So, the game of three rules of life, if you operate from this way, it will help you not have so much energy on things. So, number one is choosing to, and the key word is choosing to believe the past is perfect. That's not an easy one for people because some crazy things have happened to
Interesting.
all of us in the past. Yet, I'm not saying what happened to you, right, was perfect, but the
Mhm.
fact that it happened means that it happened. And so we can let the past have ownership of us, or we can choose that that was our path for whatever reason in the present moment so that we can take our power back, right? So, because so many people cannot move forward in life because of what happened yesterday and
They
previously
hold on to it.
onto it, right? It actually dictates who we are. The second one is choosing to believe that you did the best you knew how with the tools that you had, right? So that we can
Mm-hmm.
alleviate guilt and the shame and the self beat up and the woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? You did the best you knew how with the tools at the time that you had, choosing to believe that. And then the third one is choosing to be 100% responsible, right? I am responsible for every single result in my life, in my relationships, in my health, in my money, in my happiness, in my spiritual, in everything, right? And so
Mhm.
if we're coming from fear, we're going to communicate very differently than if we're coming from love.
Right.
It's two very different scenarios. And as I'm sharing, I want everyone to think about somebody that they know. We all have people, and it's not judgment, just like for more for like learning. Who do you know that always is in your life is operating from a victim? Right? We know those people.
Mhm.
Who do you
Right.
know that is the person? Like my family won't listen to this podcast. I won't share it with them. My brother is the victim, my dad is the
Mhm.
persecutor, and my mom is the rescuer. Like I could see it play out in my family. Like it's so glaringly obvious, right? So that
Mhm.
impacts our relationship in how we communicate with each other, right? And most of the time,
Mhm.
the person that we live in this triangle with of fear the most is ourself. Being the
Yep.
victim, then rescuing ourselves, then self-sabotaging, then beating ourselves up, then being the
Yep.
victim. It's
That's why
like,
you
oh,
always go around. They're all connected. You go around and around.
all connected, right? So, like, if we go back to communication styles and how do we
Mhm.
start to communicate differently, it's once again having the awareness of, well, what is the life I would like to live for myself? Like, what is the outcome I would want for my relationships? What is the desire I have for my goals? It's being really crystal clear on where are you going in your life? Why are you going there? What do you want? Why is that important to you? And then starting to choose, right, how you want to show up from fear or from love. Because when you come from love, what's going to start to happen is how you communicate is going to be from a space of responsibility, which is going to start to change your behavior, right? Linking it back to that, which is going to start to change your habits, which is going to start to change the results that you're getting in your life. Now, the other piece of this that I just want to add is that it's almost like love languages. We all have
Mhm.
personality types. We
Yeah.
all have the way that we do things based on our experiences in life. And I like to say there's kind of four, and I won't go too much into it. If anybody wants to know these, just message me after and I can share it.
Yep.
But we
Mhm.
all have a way to communicate. We all have a way we see things when it comes to relationships. And if we're only operating from the way that, like the love language thing that we like to be loved, we're missing out on that human connection piece of giving to people the way they like to be given to and loved. So it's the same thing with communication. We have a communication style, yet not everybody else relates to that communication
Mhm.
style. So we want to also have that learning and awareness of how do other people take in information? How do other people actually process information? How do other people live their life from survival and thriving such that they are going to be moving in a direction that's going to serve them? And how do we communicate with them in a way that we can foster, right? Beautiful communication and a wonderful relationship. And that's like a whole new level of understanding because we have to be willing to actually want that relationship to prosper, to take time to see, you know, and understand how to communicate to someone else. And there's, like really quickly, there's like the control
Mhm.
type who they're visionaries, right? They think like
Yep.
with ideas, but what they're not good at is relationships and they like to dictate. Control
Mhm.
type personalities drive me bonkers. But you know what? Those people have the best ideas and they're the people I like to follow. So it's like, how do I learn to be in relationship with them through communicating based on their language, based on the way they think and go about life? I'm
Mhm.
called an influence, and influence is somebody who like is all about now, right? Like I just told you I went on a
Right.
trip from Canada to Mexico. My brother's like, "Can you drive
Right.
here?" I'm like, "When? Tomorrow?" I'm like, "I'm in." So like
I
I
know.
operate from the moment to moment. I'm like, I have a hard time seeing way out there, things like that.
Mhm.
I'm all about relationship. Then there's the communication type that's all about like being a supporter and having the lists and getting things done and
Mhm.
taking 90 days out. Then there's the authority, we call it, who is like they're all about data and information, and it's so hard for them to make a decision because they don't want to be wrong, and the control wants to be right, and the influence wants to be noticed, and the power wants to be liked. And so, like,
Yep.
depending on all of these aspects, we've really got to have an awareness of people. And in order to even know that, you have to care enough about your relationships to take the time to learn it. And so I
Mhm.
guess like my that's a long-winded roundabout way to say like there's so many ways to become a better communicator, yet you have to have the desire to take the ownership that not your one way is the right way and that everybody's way is the right way. And how do we coexist and actually foster these better relationships by understanding other people better?
Yeah. No, that's good because what came to mind when you were talking about that is we have at work the predictive index, and it's the people in our department understanding our language and how we talk to each other. And it's kind of funny because I came out as the captain. So I do like to take a controlling situation. At the same time, I'm not the best explainer of things. I'm
Yeah,
very much like, this is how I want to do it. So yeah, that is, but the thing is that I know that's how I am. And I know that that's a good point with me, but I know my flaws and I do have to get used to other people's communication styles because it's not all about me as a team or as a family or in a relationship. The worst thing to do is have the same exact person as you because you guys are
yeah,
just going to butt heads constantly. So yeah, it's understanding different communication styles is so key just to live and just to
totally.
be happy because probably you're going to probably be by yourself. Let's be honest.
It seeps into every aspect of life, right? And if I can share one more thing
Yeah.
on that, I think it comes down to a big piece of communication is learning how to build trust, right? And so
Mhm.
how trust is built is two ways. One is through credibility, one is through sincerity. So based on people's communication style, they either trust people on sincerity or credibility. And so what I mean by that is credibility is like, okay, you know what you're talking about, you're an expert in your field, right? I know that you know your stuff, right? So there's people who are like, I won't trust somebody if they don't have the degree or the diploma or they don't have the
Right.
experience or they don't like that's not how I choose to trust people. Then there's other people who are like, no, I will trust somebody if I know they have my best interest at heart, if they're sincere first before being credible. It doesn't matter to me if they have the credentials. I need to know that they're going to care about me, right? So you also
Mhm.
need to know your audience, right? When it comes
Yeah.
to if you're wanting to enroll people, right, into your life, into your business, into your idea, into a relationship with you, how do they choose to trust?
Hmm. Very good. Very, very good. Well, perfect. Well, I want to get into our last question
Okay.
because I think you and I are probably going to have another podcast at one point because it's so easy to talk to you and just how you deliver your message. Obviously, you're professional at what you do, and how you deliver it really makes people think. And that's why I want to explore other topics with you. But I want to go into my last question, which I ask everybody because it's so interesting to get insight. If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? And same for your future self.
Ooh, okay. My younger self, I would definitely tell my younger self to enjoy the journey. I literally have had such a blessed life and had such adventure and experiences. And the entire time I was so hard on myself and it was never good enough, such that I didn't enjoy it. And I mean, I
Mm.
had fun, I've had adventure. Don't get me wrong, I've had great experiences, but I was living in the land of it's never good enough. And therefore, I didn't allow myself to fully have fulfillment. And that's really been my journey over the last couple years is accepting myself and being grateful for where I'm at right now and like really truly finding joy throughout the day while I work towards my bigger goals. So I would say like don't take your goals serious, don't take your life so serious and yourself so serious and
Yeah.
really enjoy the journey.
Yep.
Because
The process and yeah.
the process. So that's what I would say to my younger self. And then what I would say to my future self, let me think about that for a second. I would say to my
That's
future,
right.
I would say to my future self, I would say, have fun. I think it's just for me, like
Mm,
it just comes down to that. Like, do you mean what would I say to my future self, like right now, like to like the person that like is near end of life? Is that what you mean by what I would say to my future self?
It could be that. It's honestly just kind of like an open question. Some people take it as what you just said, and some people take it as the next year or two.
Okay.
It's so
Oh,
open to like just kind of like what comes to mind.
I would say to my future self, it's all on its way.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's all on its way.
It's
And I
all on
love
its
that
way.
because there's
Everything will
no
work.
cap for the age.
Yeah.
You just keep going.
It's all on its way. Everything is working out for you.
Nice. Well, awesome. Well, I enjoyed our conversation so much, Kelly. And where can people find you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me on so much. And you're super easy to talk to too, by the
Oh, good.
way. I love it. Miss Captain, right? I
Right.
think where people can find me, I think the best way is to go to, well, two ways. You can go to my website, and it is, a little bit tricky to spell, but entrepreneurialelevation.ca. So entrepreneurialelevation.ca. Or you can go onto my Instagram, which is just Kelly Beveridge. My personal Instagram is also my business Instagram, and it's KelleyBeveridge. You could also listen to my podcast, Entrepreneurial Elevation, Unleashing
Yes.
Greatness Within.
Perfect. And yeah, we'll definitely link that into the episode description. And I need to link your podcast too. Should be able to do that. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for joining me. I really,
Thank-
really do appreciate it. And like I said, you and I could have a conversation going on for hours, but unfortunately, we want to make sure that we limit it.
It's all
That
good.
way we could just do another episode with another
I
topic.
want everybody to listen. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you so much for having me, Ashley. Really appreciate you.
Awesome. So make sure if you haven't downloaded this episode, hit download, hit subscribe to the Fitness and Family Podcast, and we'll see you later. All right.
Sounds
Bye.
good. Okay, see you later.